What if I told you that one of the sweetest looking couples on 90 Day Fiancé might actually be hiding one of the biggest relationship warning signs of the season? From their emotional first meeting to romantic kisses, to finally saying "I do" at the altar. Greg and Joan's journey looks like the perfect fairy tale, but if you look closely, there are moments that make you stop and ask, are they really in love? Or are they simply hoping love will solve problems they're choosing to ignore? Because sometimes, the happiest wedding photos hide the biggest unanswered questions. And today, we're breaking down every major moment from that unforgettable first meeting all the way to the wedding and explaining why fans are so divided. Let's get into it. Greg and Joan entered 90 Day Fiancé with what seemed like one of the calmer relationships of the season. Unlike couples constantly screaming, throwing drinks, or threatening to leave each other every episode, these two appeared refreshingly mature. Their first meeting was emotional. Greg looked completely overwhelmed the moment he saw Joan. After months of long-distance conversations and endless video calls, they were finally together in real life. The chemistry looked genuine, the hugs felt real, the kisses didn't seem forced. Everything appeared to be heading toward a beautiful love story. But here's where things became interesting. Long-distance relationships allow people to control what their partner sees. You only experience carefully selected moments. Video calls end, arguments get postponed, daily habits stay hidden, living together changes everything. Once Joan entered Greg's everyday world, the reality started setting in. Now they weren't just planning romantic dates, they had to discuss finances, future goals, family expectations, where they would live, who would sacrifice more. And suddenly, the relationship wasn't only about romance anymore, it became about compatibility. That is where many international couples struggle. Love might bring two people together, but daily life determines whether they stay together. Every conversation suddenly carried more weight. Every disagreement mattered. Every compromise became a test. And fans immediately started noticing small moments that suggested everything wasn't quite as perfect as it first appeared. One thing that stood out throughout their journey was how differently Greg and Joan sometimes approached major life decisions. Greg often appeared optimistic. He wanted everything to work, sometimes almost too much. Meanwhile, Joan occasionally seemed more cautious. She wasn't just chasing romance, she wanted stability, security, a future she could trust. That's understandable. Moving to another country isn't simply changing your address. It's leaving behind family, friends, culture, career opportunities, everything familiar. When one partner takes that enormous risk, naturally they begin asking difficult questions. Can I trust this person? Will they support me? Will they still love me once the honeymoon phase ends? Those questions aren't signs of insecurity, they're signs of reality. Because marriage isn't just about one beautiful wedding day, it's about thousands of ordinary days afterward. And that's where viewers started analyzing every facial expression, every awkward silence, every uncomfortable conversation. Some fans believed Greg was genuinely trying his best. Others wondered whether he underestimated how difficult Joan's adjustment would be. Neither side may be completely right, but that's exactly why people became invested. Eventually, the big day arrived. The wedding, the emotional vows, the smiles, the celebration. After everything they'd been through, Greg and Joan officially became husband and wife. On the surface, mission accomplished, happy ending, roll the credits. Except, real life doesn't work like reality television finales. Marriage doesn't erase problems, it magnifies them. If communication was weak before, marriage won't magically fix it. If trust had cracks, those cracks usually grow bigger under pressure. If expectations weren't discussed honestly, they eventually become arguments. And that's why some viewers celebrated the wedding, while others remained skeptical. Because saying, "I do," isn't the end of the journey, it's actually the beginning of the hardest chapter. Now the real work begins. Learning each other's routines, handling stress, supporting one another during financial challenges, making sacrifices, resolving disagreements without resentment. Those are the moments that determine whether a marriage lasts. Not one perfect wedding ceremony. Here's my biggest takeaway. Greg seems like someone who genuinely wants love. That's hard to criticize. His excitement whenever he's around Joan appears authentic. You can tell he cares. But caring isn't always enough. Relationships need emotional awareness, communication, consistency, listening. Sometimes people become so focused on creating a happy ending that they ignore uncomfortable conversations. Those conversations eventually come back, usually at the worst possible time. Joan also deserves credit. Moving across the world requires enormous courage. Many viewers underestimate how emotionally exhausting that process can be. Imagine waking up every morning in a country where almost everything feels unfamiliar. Different customs, different people, different expectations. You're depending almost entirely on one person. That's a lot of pressure. If that partner doesn't fully understand what you're experiencing, resentment can quietly build. One thing I appreciated about their journey is that neither person came across as intentionally cruel. Instead, they looked like two people trying to build a life together while carrying completely different fears. Greg worries about making everything work. Joan worries about whether this new life will truly become home. Those fears don't automatically make either person wrong, but unless they're openly discussed, they slowly create distance. And that's exactly why fans remain divided. Some viewers see true love overcoming obstacles. Others see warning signs that haven't been addressed yet. Both perspectives make sense. The internet always splits into teams after episodes like this. Team Greg says, he genuinely loves her. He looks completely devoted. They'll figure everything out. Meanwhile, Team Joan says, love isn't enough. She needs security. She's sacrificing much more. And honestly, there's truth on both sides. International relationships naturally involve unequal sacrifices. Usually one partner leaves behind almost everything. The other stays surrounded by familiar support systems. That imbalance doesn't automatically doom a marriage, but it requires extra understanding, extra patience, extra communication. If one person starts feeling unheard, small issues quickly become huge fights. That's why many fans aren't focused on the wedding itself. They're focused on what happens 6 months later, 1 year later, 5 years later. Because lasting marriages aren't built during ceremonies. They're built during ordinary Tuesdays, during stressful bills, during misunderstandings, during moments when choosing each other becomes difficult. At the end of the day, Greg and Joan have already accomplished something many people never could. They crossed continents, different cultures, different lifestyles, different expectations, all because they believed their relationship was worth fighting for. That's admirable. But belief alone doesn't guarantee success. Marriage is tested after the cameras stop rolling, when there's no dramatic music, no producers, no interviews, just two people trying to build one shared life. I genuinely hope they succeed, because despite the questions, despite the concerns, they also showed moments of real affection. Now it's simply a matter of whether love can survive everyday reality. And that's the question every fan wants answered.